What is going on, everybody? Happy new week to you, and I hope last week was an awesome one filled with positive vibes and motivating thoughts. This is episode 17, and I want to start by saying thank you to everybody for your continued support for this channel and for the podcast. The shares, the likes, the comments are more than appreciated. You all inspire me to keep this metaphorical train chugging and deliver its positive cargo. That's what I wanted to kind of touch on this week. Inspiration. So we know we need to set goals. We know we need to put in the work. We know we need to be patient and do things that will set us up for success in the long game. You know, finding a little inspiration every day can help solidify your drive to get where you're trying to go. The way I like to look at motivation is kind of like a sliding scale. In the middle, you have your typical run-of-the-mill motivation, like going to work to earn a paycheck or doing the laundry to be sure you have clean clothes for that week. These are the day-to-day things that we just typically have to do even if we don't want to. People even go as far as to call them adulting. Moving to the right side, we slide more into the desperation state of motivation, and on the left, we find the inspiration state. Of course, there are varying levels of these things depending on what the situation is, and they may motivate you and they may not. 100% contingent on the individual person experiencing it, their mindset, their worldview, their support systems, etc. Everyone is motivated for different reasons or in different ways. Some need to be inspired to be motivated. Some may have that inner fire that allows them to keep themselves motivated to do anything. Others may need that external motivation from others or receiving rewards. And then you have others that won't be motivated until they get into that desperate state, typically when there is a lot on the line. I mean, desperation can be a very strong motivator. It could be the equivalent of being backed into a corner and activating your body's fight or flight response. When you're desperate, you've got no choice. You have to do whatever it takes to dig your ass out of whatever shit you're in. If you don't, there will probably be consequences. Maybe you'll lose your house or your job, or you'll be unable to put food on the table that week. That state of desperation can push people to become greater by putting them through some extremely stressful times. This stress pushes them to become more resilient and strong. They know the value of not having anything or coming from nothing. There are so many of these stories out there of people that have come from very violent and poor, sad upbringings, having nothing, been giving nothing, and still making it out and becoming successful. Their will was tested and they persevered. These stories are truly inspiring to me. Of course, not everyone makes it out. They aren't all happy endings. Desperation is at its core a negative stressor. No one wants to be desperate. It does not feel good. It's not even the opposite of good. The feeling is worse than that, and in some cases, it can break you. I truly wouldn't wish this fate on anyone. I feel there are many people that feel they are in this desperate state, even though things really aren't as bad as they may seem. They may be in that sky is falling, everything is against me, my life is over state. You know, yet likely none of these things are true. Example. The first time you were rejected by maybe a girl that you liked in the 7th grade, or experiencing your first breakup, you know, when you're 14. I know these moments in life were heart-wrenching, and now looking back as an adult, it's more of a facepalm feeling. Like, shake my head, right? Sure, I feel kind of bad for myself, but more because I didn't figure that stuff out sooner. The fact that the sky isn't falling, the fact that not everything was against me, the fact that whatever someone's opinion was of me, it was irrelevant. It should not be factored into what I thought of myself, or how I carried myself. So looking back on those times when I felt the most desperate, I almost feel ashamed because there are plenty of others that will never get some of the chances I have had to succeed. While I'm over here being crushed by, you know, a girl circling no on a folded up piece of notebook paper that said, "Do you like me?" ? Check yes or no. Don't act like you didn't do it. What we experience is heavily weighted on our outlook on life and how we view the world. If we consistently view every little thing as negative, every problem, every situation, just anything that happens to us, big or small, we're not putting ourselves in a good place to be motivated, let alone inspired. Like we have said in previous episodes, it's how we react to these circumstances that will inevitably shape our reality. Sure, there is plenty of negativity out there. Every news outlet spews negativity because it gets the reactions. It gets the shares, it gets the likes, the hits. It's hard to not be negative towards the world after watching something like that. I'm one that does not watch the news. I choose to acquire my knowledge from unbiased sources that aren't in it for the shock value and ratings. You choose what you consume. You don't need to only hear what they want you to hear and respond how they want you to respond. We are not sheeple. We do not need to be mindless zombies carrying out someone else's will. Though the effectiveness of traditional news media cannot be understated, shit is like mind control. They will tell you what your side wants to hear and further divide us as humans. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. What I'm saying is that even doing something as simple as turning your morning news on or scrolling through some Facebook posts can set your day off on the wrong foot. Maybe save the news for the nighttime so you can sleep off whatever they want you to be enraged about today. Motivation is one of those things that is more difficult to do when you're carrying around a negative mindset. When we are positive and open to experiences, things tend to work out better. Not only will you possibly end up enjoying the experience, but you may actually find a deeper value for your life. Being negative may make motivation feel like you're being forced to do something rather than it being something you're choosing to do. Sure, most of us would rather not go to work, but looking at it negatively will only deepen that drive to not want to do it, inevitably affecting your performance doing your job. Not saying we should have to like it, but it is technically bringing value to your life, so maybe we could be a bit more positive towards it and be open to being inspired to do our job a little better. It'll only help you move forward positively, finding value in whatever you do. The long and short of it is, being inspired by something or someone normally does not happen in a negative frame of mind. Being negative will almost always keep us from being open and accepting of new things. Doing better to keep ourselves positive and minimizing the negativity in our lives will allow us much better chance of being inspired by things and hopefully motivating ourselves to be greater than we already are. And you are great, we all are. But we all have areas of our lives that could be improved, and not just financially. I'd say especially not financially. It seems like this is the most important aspect nowadays. Perhaps it's the news channels telling me that, I don't know. Kidding, of course. Try to remember a time when you were particularly inspired by something. Were you feeling down and angry at the time, or were you feeling good and happy? My guess is you felt pretty damn good. Like I said, if we get in the right state of mind, we can be inspired by just about anything at any time, by anyone, or anything. We can be inspired by even the smallest things, and sometimes it goes in a real roundabout way of getting that inspiration to you, but being open and positive will allow that creative thinking to flow through you. Maybe I'm driving to work and see a dark sky with reddish and purple hues, which reminds me of a paint job I saw in a Porsche one time, which leads me to thinking about their logo, which is a very shield or crest-like logo. This may end up being something I want to try for a project I'm working on. I don't know. Okay, maybe it's not so detailed, but if we don't allow ourselves to be inspired, we're probably not going to notice that sky color at all. Now, just because we are inspired by something does not mean we are actually going to be motivated to do something about it. Inspiration is definitely less of a motivator than desperation. Think about it. You're inspired to do something, but if there will be no consequence for not doing that thing, you're free to procrastinate, and poof, motivation is gone. most people struggle with being internally motivated. They typically rely on being externally motivated, being motivated by bosses to do something, or being motivated by a paycheck or a reward. But when we can get to that place of being internally motivated, we can really seize the reins and take control of our lives. It's that day-to-day life, getting stuff done attitude. It's important to develop that inner fire, not just being inspired. We need that internal drive to pick up that rope and drag that shit as far as we need to go to make it where we want to be. External motivation has its place, but you get that internal motivation firing on all cylinders, chances are good you're going to crush whatever you want to do, or be. My personal inspirations or motivations come primarily from visual or audio cues, which shouldn't come as a shock because I played instruments and am a digital artist, so audio, visual, whatever. Was always really good with a photographic memory too back in high school. Those geography classes were cake! I'm easily affected by flashing lights and sounds. Perhaps the ADD is kicking in a bit there. Whether what I see or hear reminds me of something I once saw, or if it's something completely new that gets stored into my memory, I could use these things to spark creativity and inspire myself in whatever it is I am working on. I'm inspired by a few buddies of mine that have taken control of their lives and are working their asses off to make their dreams happen. I literally just watch their Instagram stories daily, and it keeps me inspired to do the same. I appreciate them for that. The list goes on, and it is highly individual. But I remain positive every day, and I stay open to new things because having an inspired life just feels right to me. And I hope it does for you too. We need more inspired people in the world and less negativity. Who knows? Maybe what inspires you is to be a person that actually inspires others. It's a solid thing. All right, so that's all I got for inspiration this week. Let's head over to the LWR and see if I was inspired at all last week. So last week we had 2 streams. We had one on Monday, we had one on Wednesday. Monday's stream was actually a art stream. I actually busted out the digital monitor and was drawing on stream. We were drawing like a Spider-Man type character. Again, most of this stuff is complete practice, so I feel bad for anybody that was coming in there for actual art skill because I'm still pretty low in that. So we just hung out and drew away is really all we did. We didn't have our regular stream on Friday. We had some stuff to take care of in the family, so we skipped that, and but it is looking pretty dang snowy outside, so we're kind of stuck in here right now. Got a big winter storm rolling through right now, so who knows, maybe a third stream is on the way this weekend, but if not, we'll be back to the grind on Monday. Last week we tried to stay up on doing a few Instagram stories every day, tried to get a few posts out on Instagram. I also made a little square template for Instagram posts that shows what episode of the podcast we're on. So basically when the podcast drops on Monday, I'll also drop that image so that pops up on the Instagram feed. I also tried to keep up on my drawing last week. My goal again for this year is 1 hour every day. I missed a couple days, but I did make up for it, especially like that streaming day on Monday. I was drawing that whole time, so that was like 2 hours, but I got an extra hour in a couple of spots, so I've done more than enough for this week. I'm still gonna probably draw another hour today and probably tomorrow to round out the weekend, and then just go back to it next week. But next week I definitely want to stay up on it, definitely an hour every day. I'd like to do another drawing stream one of those days, probably Monday or Wednesday. I don't know what I'm going to be drawing. Guess we'll just kind of figure it out as we go and play it by ear, and then definitely get our longer stream in next Friday, hopefully get everything back on track. Last week I also scheduled out my whole week in advance, so Sunday morning I went into Google Calendar basically and just made up all my days, where the workouts were, where my regular scheduled work was, when I'm coming up with ideas for the podcast, when I'm recording the podcast, when I'm outputting just stacking stuff here and there so that I have this visual representation of things I got to get done. Even though for the most part I'm pretty good at staying on task, it is nice to kind of look down at the phone and see a list of things that need to be done, or what else, in case you forget something. So yeah, hope you guys found some value in this episode. I hope to see you in the broadcast this week. I did get my first follow of 2019 just this past week. Again, I'm not trying to be this huge streamer or anything like that. So I just appreciate you guys being there. I appreciate you having fun and chatting it up. I love it. It's fun. So definitely check out one of the art broadcasts this week because it's ridiculous and I'm terrible, but I'm getting better. So it's one of those things you guys can just kind of be there while I grow. So hopefully I see you in the broadcast this week. If not, I will catch you next Monday for episode 18. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a great week. See ya.